Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Questions on British Muslim TV with me, Mohammed Shafiq. We're broadcasting on Sky Channel 752 and across social media at British Muslim TV. Wherever you are joining us, a very warm welcome. Shortly, we head to Cairo to talk to Hossam Ed-Deen Allam, who is a senior scholar and lecturer at the Al-Azhar University, about interfaith in the world and how the Abrahamic faiths can come together after what's happened these past 2 weeks. Hossam joins us live shortly from Cairo. Then we head to Blackburn to give you the Labour Party response to the local election results, including that sensational victory of Tiger Patel, who was my guest last week. We'll be talking to Senior Labour Councillor Shaukat Hussain, who'll be joining us live from Blackburn. And then we finish off in Paris, in France, to discuss Macron's war on Islam, as some Muslim leaders claim, with political columnist Hamid Khalid. He'll be joining us around 9:30. So we want to hear from you tonight. Now let's start with our first guest. The events in Gaza and Israel have led to hundreds being killed, including children. We've seen claim and counterclaim from both sides, and sadly a rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia around the world. Now, how can Jews, Muslims and Christians, as people of the Abrahamic faiths, come together? Is there a real way forward? Hossam Ed-Deen Allam is a scholar and imam at the Al-Azhar University in Cairo. He's recently been selected by the United Nations Alliance of Civilization to be a participant in the Interfaith networks. He's working to spread awareness of safeguarding of places of worship and worshippers. I'm pleased to say Hossam Ed-Deen Allam is joining us live from Cairo in Egypt. Hossam Ed-Deen, assalamu alaikum. A very warm welcome to the program. It's an absolute honor to have you on, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Mr. Muhammad. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and all our dear viewers from across the globe. Thank you so much for the thoughtful introduction and for the kind invitation to be with you tonight.
Allah bless you. Thank you so much. You're promoting protecting places of worship. Let's start at that. And worshippers in the UN work that you're working on at the moment. What do you make of the attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque?
Definitely, this is an attack that cannot be justified by any means. All faith traditions cannot condone it. All international regulations, all international conventions totally stand as a witness to how totally this cannot be accepted. Especially because you are talking about innocent, totally unarmed worshippers who are only praying, and they are totally innocent. And I repeat and I highlight, how is it? They are totally innocent, just praying, just invocating at such a very important time for all Muslims. And what adds more injury and insult to the bleeding is how is it we have seen, and how is it many videos have been viral of how some of the illegal settlers, they just say, if it is not me who's going to take it, so someone else will come to take it, which is totally preposterous and totally provocative, not only for Muslims and Christians and Jews who totally cannot accept this, but to every and each human being who can see the travesty of this. And I'm sure all my friends, and I have done my master's in the UK on diplomacy and religion, and they totally cannot accept this, and they cannot find any legitimate excuse or justification for this.
But we saw in 2019 when Muslim worshippers were gunned down in Christchurch Mosque in New Zealand, and we saw it also in the church attacks in Sri Lanka. We've seen the anti-Semitic attack against the synagogue. Is faith being deliberately targeted? Are places of worship deliberately targeted?
Definitely. When we look into the timeline of the recent events, and even beyond, Mr. Muhammad, we clearly see that places of worship have been clearly a target on the agenda of the violently extremist groups. But here I'd like to stress a very important point, and actually still from an academic perspective, which is a very important work by a very well-known academic researcher, and that's the book of The Myth of Religious Violence by William T. Kavanagh. And in this book, he clearly shows how is it this idea that faith or religion is inherently driven to stake flames of division and drive people apart happens actually to be nothing but and totally unfounded claim. So, of course, faith or religion or the deen plays a very important role in people's lives on many levels, and of course on the community level and even on a state level. So this cannot be blamed on the places of worship themselves or on the worshippers. Rather, and this is the point, and this is what Al-Azhar and many other global institutions have been speaking up to clarify that places of worship, irrespective of the faith tradition that they belong to, they cannot be targeted by any means, and there is nothing that would justify targeting them or targeting the people who seek refuge in them. It is true that
I've just got one more. Sorry, Hossam. I've got one more question, and we've got about a couple of minutes before the break. We see terrorism on the rise around the world, and we often see minority communities targeted. Your country in Egypt has seen the Coptic Christians targeted often. What does Islam say about protecting minorities within the Islamic system?
Yes, this is a very interesting question, and we clearly see, as a matter of fact, be it in Egypt and in other places, they are politically motivated, and this is why Al-Azhar here in Egypt, alongside with the church as well in Egypt, they totally condemn this, and they totally clarify that this is not and cannot actually be justified by any faith tradition, be it Islam or any other faith. Rather, it is always politically motivated in order to create a situation of divide, in order to push forward certain political agendas. Of course, this is a very important question. I'd like to highlight this point when it comes to the stance of Islam on safeguarding places of worship and worshippers as well. We have various proofs, as a matter of fact, from the Noble Quran and from the authentic teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that make it totally evident and explicit that it is not permissible by any means to target the safety of the places of worship and worshippers, irrespective of the faith tradition that they belong to. And we have in this regard, for instance, the noble Quranic verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that it is not permissible whatsoever to even express disrespect to the deities of non-Muslims. And commenting on this, the scholars said that if it is not allowed and utterly prohibited to even show disrespect...
Hossam, can you just hold a thought there, because we're coming towards our first break. When we come back, Hossam is going to stay with us. So we'll take a break, and some of these important messages for your attention. Join us on the other side of this.